What makes a nation rich or poor? This is the groundbreaking question that Daron Acemoglu, Simon Johnson, and James A. Robinson answered, earning them the 2024 Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences. Their research reveals something crucial. It's not geography, resources, or luck that determines prosperity. It's the quality of a country's institutions. In this video, we'll explain exactly what that means and why it matters to you. Here's what's coming up. We'll dive into the key insights from their work, explore how they explain the massive wealth gap between nations, and show you real-world examples, like two neighboring cities with identical geography but vastly different fortunes. We'll also uncover how historical events, such as colonialism, have left lasting scars on global inequality, and how these lessons can help shape a better future for struggling nations. By the end, you'll have a clear understanding of how strong institutions can build wealth and stability, while weak ones lead to corruption and stagnation. This isn't just about economics, it's about the forces shaping the world you live in. Stay tuned and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Economy Explorer. You won't want to miss what's next. The background of the prize. What's in a name? The Nobel Prize in Economics is, surprisingly, not an original Nobel Prize at all, unlike the prizes for peace, physics, or literature, which were established in Alfred Nobel's 1895 will. The Economics Prize came much later, in 1968. It was created by the Swedish Central Bank, Sveriges Riksbank, in memory of Nobel himself, marking the bank's 300th anniversary. This addition to the prestigious roster wasn't without controversy. Critics argued that economics wasn't a pure science like the others, and some even doubted whether it belonged in the same category of global significance. But what led to this decision, and why does this prize matter so much? At its core, the Economics Prize reflects the evolving importance of economic theory and its application to solving real-world problems. Alfred Nobel, a chemist and inventor who famously created dynamite, originally intended his prizes to reward advancements that benefited humanity. Over time, it became clear that economics, a discipline dealing with wealth, poverty, and the distribution of resources, plays a central role in shaping societies and improving lives. In fact, the Nobel Committee chose to include it because of its potential to address complex societal challenges, from unemployment to income inequality. But here's the twist. This prize doesn't actually come from the Nobel Foundation's endowment. Instead, the prize money is funded separately by the Riksbank. This financial distinction is subtle but significant. It underscores economics' unique journey from a debated soft science to a respected and impactful discipline. So, how has this prize evolved over the decades? Who were its most notable recipients, and how did their work shape the world? Stick around as we explore the giants whose contributions have forever changed how we view the global economy. And, of course, we'll break down why this year's winners, Daron Acemoglu, Simon Johnson, and James A. Robinson, stand out in this prestigious legacy. Who are the laureates? What makes an economist's work stand out in a field filled with data, theories, and debates? Meet Daron Acemoglu, Simon Johnson, and James A. Robinson, three visionaries whose groundbreaking research has reshaped how we think about wealth and institutions. These scholars aren't just academics, they're global influencers whose ideas have sparked policy changes and inspired governments to rethink economic strategies. Daron Acemoglu, a professor at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, is one of the most cited economists in the world. Born in Istanbul, Turkey, Acemoglu has a knack for distilling complex ideas into transformative theories. He's known for challenging conventional wisdom and tackling some of the most pressing questions in economics. Did you know his research is cited more often than that of Paul Krugman or even John Maynard Keynes? That's a testament to the practical impact of his ideas. His work focuses on how political and economic institutions influence a nation's success, and his contributions are as relevant in emerging economies as they are in established ones. Simon Johnson, also a professor at MIT, brings another layer of expertise. A former chief economist at the International Monetary Fund, Johnson has first-hand experience in global financial crises and economic development. His work often bridges the gap between theory and application, focusing on how institutions can be leveraged to support equitable growth. Johnson's deep understanding of economic policy has made him a trusted advisor to nations navigating complex financial landscapes. James A. Robinson, a professor at the University of Chicago, is perhaps best known for co-authoring Why Nations Fail with Acemoglu, a book that has become a cornerstone of economic literature. Robinson's research delves into historical and institutional analysis, revealing how power dynamics and governance shape economic outcomes. His storytelling approach has made complex concepts accessible to audiences far beyond the academic world. But what unites these three brilliant minds? Their shared belief in the transformative power of inclusive institutions and their dedication to finding solutions for economic inequality. Up next, we'll explore their groundbreaking research and why it's reshaping how we understand economic success worldwide. The core research. Why are some nations rich while others remain trapped in poverty? This is the central question that Daron Acemoglu, Simon Johnson, and James A. Robinson sought to answer. Their groundbreaking research dismantles simplistic explanations like natural resources or geographic luck and reveals a more profound truth. The wealth of nations lies in the strength and inclusivity of their institutions. At the heart of their work is the concept of inclusive versus extractive institutions. Inclusive institutions empower individuals, fostering innovation, investment, and collaboration. They provide opportunities for people to participate in the economy, ensuring that success is not confined to a privileged few. In contrast, extractive institutions concentrate power and wealth in the hands of a small elite, often stifling growth and creating instability. Think about it. Countries like Switzerland and South Korea thrive because their systems reward effort and innovation, while nations rich in resources, like Venezuela, struggle due to corrupt and extractive systems that prioritize control over progress. One of their most striking findings comes from examining history. The trio discovered that the roots of inequality often trace back to colonial times, when empires designed institutions to exploit local populations. For example, regions rich in resources became sites of extractive systems that suppressed local development, while less resource-endowed colonies were forced to create systems conducive to settlement and growth. This historical context explains enduring disparities in wealth and governance today. Their research also dives deep into why good institutions matter. They argue that stable, inclusive systems encourage people to take risks, innovate, and invest in their futures. Whether it's a farmer deciding to cultivate new crops or an entrepreneur launching a business, inclusive institutions create the trust and security necessary for economic activity to flourish. But what makes their work truly revolutionary is its actionable insight, the idea that institutions can change. They aren't static. They're shaped by people, policies, and historical forces. Coming up, we'll explore real-world examples that bring their theories to life and show how these lessons can be applied to create a more equitable global economy. Stay tuned. Historical context. What if the seeds of modern prosperity or poverty were sown hundreds of years ago? The work of Acemoglu, Johnson, and Robinson takes us back in time to reveal how colonial history has left an indelible mark on today's economic inequalities. Their research shows that the rules and systems established by colonial powers didn't vanish when they left. They shaped the trajectory of nations in ways that still echo today. One striking example comes from their analysis of colonial strategies. In regions like North America, with lower population densities and fewer immediate resources to exploit, colonizers established inclusive institutions. These areas needed to attract settlers, so systems were put in place to protect property rights, support entrepreneurship, and encourage self-governance. Contrast this with regions rich in natural resources or densely populated, like parts of Africa and South America, where extractive institutions were built. These systems were designed to control populations, extract wealth, and funnel it back to colonial powers, leaving little room for local development. Take the case of Nogales, a single city split into two halves, one in Arizona, USA, and the other in Sonora, Mexico. Both share the same geography, culture, and climate, yet one thrives while the other struggles. Why? Institutions. The Arizona side benefits from systems that promote stability, enforce property rights, and encourage economic participation. Meanwhile, the Sonora side grapples with weaker institutions that hinder growth and foster corruption. This tale of two cities vividly illustrates the long-term impact of institutional choices made centuries ago. The story doesn't end there. The researchers uncovered a troubling pattern. Countries that were the wealthiest before colonialism often became the poorest afterward. Why? Because their wealth made them prime targets for extractive systems that persisted long after independence. This historical context reshapes how we view global disparities and challenges us to rethink how nations can break free from the weight of their past. Up next, we'll explore how these lessons translate into actionable strategies, focusing on the modern-day relevance of strong institutions and their power to transform economies. Stay tuned for insights that connect the dots between history and the future. Real-world impact. What does the success of nations like South Korea and the stagnation of countries like Venezuela teach us about the role of institutions? The work of Acemoglu, Johnson, and Robinson takes theoretical insights and applies them to some of the most pressing challenges in our world today. Their findings provide a blueprint for understanding why some nations thrive and others falter, even when facing similar external circumstances. Consider South Korea. In the mid-20th century, the country was one of the poorest in the world, ravaged by war and lacking significant natural resources. Yet, by investing in strong, inclusive institutions that supported education, innovation, and trade, South Korea transformed into a global economic powerhouse. The institutions put in place created a level playing field where individuals could succeed based on merit, not privilege. These policies encouraged citizens to invest in their future, knowing their efforts wouldn't be undermined by corruption or instability. Now, let's turn to Venezuela, a nation blessed with abundant oil reserves but plagued by economic turmoil. The issue? Extractive institutions that have concentrated wealth and power in the hands of a few, fostering corruption and discouraging innovation. Instead of investing oil revenues into long-term infrastructure or diversification, short-sighted policies and a lack of accountability have left the economy in disarray. These contrasting examples underscore a core truth. Prosperity depends on creating systems that enable fair participation and long-term growth. But their research doesn't just explain why some nations succeed, it also offers solutions for those that struggle. One key insight is that change often begins with small, incremental reforms rather than sweeping overhauls. Strengthening local governance, improving access to education, and creating transparency in financial systems are all steps that can help rebuild trust and lay the foundation for inclusive growth. So how can these lessons be applied today, both in struggling economies and in maintaining the stability of prosperous ones? In the next section, we'll explore actionable strategies inspired by this groundbreaking research showing how countries can forge a path to sustained economic success. Stay with us as we bring these theories to life in practical, transformative ways. Lessons for a prosperous future. History teaches us that the rise and fall of nations often comes down to one critical factor: the strength of their institutions. The groundbreaking work of Daron Acemoglu, Simon Johnson, and James A. Robinson shows that inclusive systems, those that empower individuals, protect rights, and encourage innovation, are the true drivers of prosperity. These lessons are not just academic, they offer a path forward for nations looking to break free from poverty and inequality. Think about South Korea, a country that built strong institutions and transformed itself into an economic powerhouse. Now contrast that with Venezuela, a nation rich in resources but held back by extractive systems that stifle growth and opportunity. These real-world examples highlight the profound impact institutions have on the everyday lives of people, shaping everything from the jobs we hold to the futures we imagine for our families. But the real takeaway: change is possible. Institutions are not fixed. They can be strengthened through awareness, accountability, and action. Whether it's demanding transparency in governance or advocating for policies that prioritize fairness, every small step can create a ripple effect toward lasting prosperity. Thank you for joining us on this journey with Economy Explorer. Don't forget to check out the suggested videos on your screen for more insights into global economic systems. Like, share, and subscribe to stay part of the conversation. Until next time, remember, strong institutions are the foundation for a better future.